I'm going to power up Arcane Barrage. Today's goal is simple. How high can we push Arcane Barrage? And can a single shot actually delete someone? Let's find out. After I uploaded the full Mastery Frost Mage video, a lot of people said the same thing. Do ArcaneMage next. And then, even Mage God himself, the creator of Aluna's Master, left a long insightful comment. Mage really shines because it has incredible utility and defensive tools, not damage. All good points. But one final line completely caught my eye. Exception might be if you play Flux with 4 pieces. And at that moment, I knew exactly what I had to do next. For today's experiment, I'm running a full Mastery stacked Mage again. Every piece of gear I bought is tuned for Mastery, and all the enchants and the gems are stacked the same way. And the reason is simple. Mastery massively boosts the damage of Arcane Barrage based on the number of arcane charges. So this entire setup is built for one thing, a single, devastating Arcane Barrage. In a PvP setup, my base mastery sits at 56%. At that level, each arcane charge adds 160-30% additional damage to Arcane Barrage. But when I trigger the Mage Orc ratio, Ancestor's Call, my master spikes even higher, pushing the bonus to 172 damage per arcane charge. For reference, the core mechanic of ArcaneMage is the Arcane Charge. Each charge exponentially increases the damage of arcane spells, including Arcane Barrage, and you can stack up to 4 of them. At 4 charges and plus the extra mastery from the Ancestor's Call, the tooltip starts to look pretty ridiculous. Second, we have Arcane Surge. Not only is Arcane Surge one of the class's strongest cooldowns, but when you activate it, you also gain a 15-second buff that increases all spell damage by 35%. Third, we have the Nether Precision. Whenever you consume a clear casting proc, your next 2 Arcane Barrages deal 20% increased damage. And if you combine this with a Lay Sight talent, that bonus goes up to 30%. One thing to keep in mind, the Nether Precision doesn't have a clear visual indicator unless you are using a specific weak aura, so it's easy to lose track of it if you're not careful. Just remember to consume clear casting proc before using Arcane Barrage. Fourth, we have the Intuition buff. Casting any damage spell has a 5% chance to make your next Arcane Barrage deal 50% additional damage. From experience, it procs roughly at least once every 11 spells, so you will see it fairly often. When it triggers, you will notice a small visual indicator, but be careful. The icon looks very similar to clear casting, so make sure you don't mix the two up. An Intuition buff is a very short one, which only lasts about 5 seconds, which means you have to react quickly. Fifth, we have the Arcane Harmony. Every time arcane missiles hit a target, Arcane Barrage gains 2% increased damage, up to a maximum of 20%. Technically, you need 10 hits to reach the full 20%. Since arcane missiles fire 8 volleys per cast, you need to wait for 2 clear casting procs to stack it to max. Sixth and seventh, we have the Sun Fury hero talents, Spellfire Spear and Lingering Embers. Spellfire Spear increases all spell damage by up to 5%, and with the 2 set bonus, that goes up to 10%. Lingering Embers increases all spell damage by up to 15% as your Phoenix attacks. However, every Phoenix hit also consumes a Spellfire Spear stack. Because of this, the two effects don't stack together, they actually cancel each other out. So in realistic gameplay, you can treat them as giving you an average of around 10% bonus damage. 8th, we have the Arcane Soul. When your Arcane Phoenix expires, you gain a buff that instantly gives you clear casting and 4 arcane charges. While Arcane Soul is active, each spell you cast increases the damage of your next Arcane Barrage by 15%, stacking all the way up to 150%. And on top of that, the 4-piece tier set gives an additional 20% spell damage for 10 seconds when the Arcane Soul triggers. And lastly, we have Burden of Power and Glorious Incandescence. In simple terms, every 6 Arcane Blast, Burden of Power gives you a buff that makes your next Arcane Barrage deal 20% increased damage. And when you consume that buff, Glorious Incandescence triggers, boosting the following Arcane Barrage by 20% again. Because these buffs are consumed sequentially, they don't stack together, so for practical calculations, you can just treat them as 2 separate 20% damage buffs. So that covers all the ways to directly increase the damage of Arcane Barrage itself. But as you know, not everything can stack at the same time. For example, Arcane Soul only appears after Arcane Surge expires, so those two buffs don't overlap, which means we have 2 possible paths. Use Arcane Surge or wait for Arcane Soul. For this build, I decided to go with the Arcane Surge. First, this is what my Arcane Barrage looks like with 0 modifiers. $0.2 million in average. Awesome. So here we go. First, I start by casting Arcane Blast to build up the 4 arcane charges. Remember, Intuition will always proc within your 11th spell. And while stacking those 7 to 8 Arcane Blast, you will naturally pick up 1 or 2 clear casting procs. Once I'm ready, I activate Evocation for extra intellect, and then hit Arcane Surge for another 35% bonus spell damage. From this point on, I'm getting roughly a 10% bonus damage from Spellfire Sphere and Lingering Embers, plus another 20% from Burden of Power and Glorious Incandescence. With the clear casting procs I have saved, I fire off 2 or 3 arcane missiles to stack Arcane Harmony, and also gain Nether Precision for consuming clear casting proc. At the same time, the target becomes more vulnerable to Arcane Barrage thanks to Arcane Debilitation. Now everything is ready. As soon as Intuition procs, I immediately apply Nether Flux for another 50% increased damage, and then unleash the Arcane Barrage. I reached 18 million Arcane Barrage. I came a long way from 0.2 million damage. It looks complicated, but it really isn't. Step 1. Cast 8 Arcane Blast. Step 2. Cast Evocation for extra intel. Step 3. Cast Arcane Surge. Step 4. Cast 2 or 3 Arcane Missiles until Intuition procs. And Step 5. Cast Nether Flux and Arcane Barrage. It helps if you create few simple macros. I've tested this few more times, and the highest number I could get from a training dummy was 20 million. My Arcane Barrage without any stacks hits about 166,000, but with everything fully stacked, it jumps to over 20 million. That's roughly 121 times increase. But the real question is, can it one-shot people? can a single Arcane Barrage kill full health players? The answer was no. I realized that to actually delay someone with Arcane Barrage, it's not just about powering up the barrage itself. You also have to make the target vulnerable to it. And to do that, you need multiple arcane missiles beforehand. So in the strict literal sense, a true one-shot kill isn't really possible. But if you don't force yourself to stick to the pure one-shot definition, then yeah, this build absolutely qualifies for Snuppy's burst contest. From what I remember, the ArcaneMage record in his video was around 3.12 seconds, and honestly, this setup can definitely compete with that.